Have you ever wanted to own one of the world's most beloved cars? How about a $48 million racer? Even if you did have the cash to splash, these incredible machines are so rare and so unique that it'd be near impossible to get your hands on them anyway. In just over a century of automotive progression, we've created 24-foot-long superhero cars, stunning racers worth more than beachside mansions, and exhilarating sports cars so fast that they'll make your head spin just thinking about them. Forget about the mass-produced city cars. Today's all about the unusual, the unique, the extremely rare, and the ultra expensive. So buckle up because it's going to be a wild ride. It's got 6 wheels, it measures up to a whopping 24 feet long, and you can drive around with the top down. This car was made famous for its appearance in the 2003 superhero film The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and is perhaps the most challenging custom build of all time. The so-called Spirit of Nemo is loosely based on 2 Cadillac limousines, hence its abnormally long appearance. The man behind the build, Ken Freeman, is the owner of a body shop in North Carolina, and he spent 6,500 hours creating this incredibly intricate machine, and it's the only one to have ever been made. From its stellar steering wheel to the detailed dash, its fine-tuned trims, and those stunning elephants on the front, the design really is unmatched. Captain Nemo's real-life car was listed on eBay back in 2016 for $165,000. Even though it is so stretched out, the peculiar vehicle apparently still drives like a breeze. It's got quad front steering and a Cadillac 425 V8 engine under that 10-foot hood. If $165,000 sounds like chump change, then perhaps the cost of a 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO might be more up your alley. $48.4 million. One of these rides was selling at that absurd price back in 2018. The number can go even higher depending upon the particular car that's in question. For example, a German race car driver named Christian Glassell sold his Ferrari 250 GTO from 1963, which is the same model from the following production year, in a private sale to David McNeil, in a deal estimated to be worth at least $70 million. When this gem was first produced, Enzo Ferrari was required to personally approve every single buyer, and there weren't many of them. All up, only 39 of the 250 GTOs were created, 33 of which had the original design. The other 6 were split into 2. One half had a tweaked bodywork known as the Series 2, and the other, known as the 330 GTO, was built with a larger engine. This fine piece of work, ladies and gentlemen, is the 1957 Ferrari 250 Testarossa, or the 250 TR for short. These models were put to market during the 1950s and 60s, but you would have had to strike gold if you wanted to get your hands on one of the sleek 1957 models. Only 34 of these cars were ever made. Fast forward to today, and they're worth truckloads of cash. It's not much of a surprise though, considering that it went on to win 10 World Sports Car Championships. One of these bad boys sold at auction back in 2014 to the highest bidder with a jaw-dropping figure of $39.8 million. Alright, it's time for our next famous yet rare sports car, the 1970 Porsche 917. The 917 was admired for a number of reasons. First of all, because it gave Porsche its first ever overall win at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1970, and then again the year after that in 1971. Secondly, because it was packing some serious power under the hood. It flew from 0 to 62 miles per hour in just 2.3 seconds, and soared up to an exhilarating top speed of close to 240 miles an hour. But it also featured in the 1971 Steve McQueen film called Le Mans, which was about the race, of course. That appearance propelled the car towards celebrity status. Is it such a shock that the 917 sold at auction for $14 million in 2017? Drifting in next is none other than the limited edition one-off production car that is the brilliant 2008 Maybach XL. With a twin-turbo V12 engine under its hood, this 690 horsepower supercar made by Daimler Chrysler sports 23-inch alloy wheels, a dark and red leather interior, vented disc brakes, and a top speed of 351 kilometers an hour, or 218 miles per hour. Only one of these was ever made, In 2011, an American rapper by the name Birdman purchased it for a cool $8 million. Birdman couldn't afford the payments, so he had no choice but to let it slide into the hands of another famous artist, Jay-Z. You can actually see the high-performance sports car making an appearance in his music video for a song called Lost One. Steering its way into the countdown next is another Porsche, the 550 Spider, one of the most popular race cars to have ever come out of the German manufacturer. While its reputation over time on the racetrack might not compare with the likes of the 917 and the 911, it was undoubtedly one of the most talked about sports cars of its era. Built between 1953 and 1956, there were only 90 of these timeless pieces ever made, and it's estimated that only 46 of them still actually exist today. If you were hypothetically interested, you'd need at least a spare $6 million sitting around. That's how much one of them sold for at the Bonham's Goodwill Revival sale. Turns out that funny man Jerry Seinfeld had claims to one of the 550 Spiders. However, he decided to sell it, along with 14 other cars, for a startling price of $22 million. The terms environmentally friendly and supercar don't often go hand in hand in the same sentence. But according to Koenigsegg, they do. The 2009 Koenigsegg CCXR Trevita, aka the so-called most environmentally friendly supercar on the market. Under the hood, there's a 4.8-liter twin supercharged V8 engine which, despite running on E85 and E100 ethanol fuel, can churn out a hair-raising 1,004 horsepower. By comparison, the Lamborghini Gallardo only boasts 562 horsepower. There were only 2 of them ever produced, and here's the massive issue with that. You either need to have $4.8 million to get your hands on one of the pair, or you'll need to fight world-famous boxer Floyd Mayweather for the other. And we're not sure that you'd win that fight. No offense. This is the Rolls-Royce 15 HP, the first ever car produced by Charles Rolls and Henry Royce, way back in 1904. Only 6 of these iconic machines were released to the public. There's only 1 still known to exist. In hindsight, a top speed of 39 miles per hour and a total of 15 horsepower might seem like child's play, but at the time, they were revolutionary. Insurance companies have appraised its replacement value at $35 million, but if it went to auction, we wouldn't be surprised if it surpassed that by a mile. Every car that we've looked at is rare in one way or another, but our next four-wheeled guest is about as unique as they come as well. Not for its number of accomplishments, but for its look. Folks, cast your eyes towards the truly unusual Mercedes 300 SL Gullwing. As a 2-seat coupe, its distinctive feature is clearly its gull-wing doors. Gullwing coming from the term seagull because of the shape, obviously. This rare breed was first introduced back in 1954, and a total of 1,400 gullwings were produced from then through 1957, 300 of which flew off the lot in 1956. And sure, that's a lot more than the one-off additions that we've seen during this rundown. However, it's the aesthetic that made this model so sought after. One of them sold for $1.5 million at auction. Is anyone here a fan of the Fast and Furious films? Remember that supercar in Furious 7? No? Well, let us show you. This is the W Motors Lykan Hypersport, and it's actually the most expensive car to ever be featured in the Fast and Furious franchise. So what did they decide to do with it? Throw it off a skyscraper into oblivion, that's what. Only a handful of these speed demons were ever made. 7 to be precise, and it boasts the impressive title of the first supercar to be designed in the Middle East. Not only does it rock a top speed of 240 miles an hour with a 3.7-liter twin-turbo flat-6 engine, but it's got plenty of bells and whistles as well. We're talking features along the lines of headlights embedded with diamonds, rubies, and sapphires. Not too shabby, huh? You'll need a miracle for one of these things to be put up for auction, but on the off chance that it ever does become available, get ready to part with close to $3.4 million. Ouch.